Magic of Joy channel. Today I want to discuss identity. It's a huge topic, and in some ways we cannot live without it. But the question is, can identity actually become a burden? And if so, why? So let's look at this today. So the first question is, do we need identity? Now, there is more than one way to look at human identities. According to dictionary.com, identity is the condition of being oneself or itself and not another. And it can be a condition or character as to who a person or what a thing is. In other words, the qualities, the beliefs that distinguish or identify a person or a thing. An example would be a case of mistaken identity. Immigrants with strong ethnic identities. The sense of self, providing sameness and continuity in personality over time, and sometimes disturbed in mental illnesses such as schizophrenia. So there are a variety of ways to look at identity. But essentially, identity then is being oneself. Well, let me ask you, how often do you feel like you can be yourself? Most of us do not. So that begs the question, where does identity come from? Why do we need it? And can we change it? Get rid of it, or at least change our relationship with identity? There are different kinds of identity. Not all identity is equal. One of the dictionary definitions is the condition or character as to who a person or what a thing is, the qualities, the beliefs that distinguish or identify a person or a thing. You may have noticed in the definition one example of immigrants with strong ethnic identity. So identities can come from a place. So I'm originally from New England, meaning my experience there is a part of who I am because it has influenced me. I've lived in the DC area for many decades since then. And so the Mid-Atlantic is also a part of my experience. I'm a female, and that can be part of my identity. And of course, there are many different sexual orientations become identities. I grew up as a baby boomer, which means that that generation is part of my experience also. My mother was from Germany, so multiculturalism can be part of my experience. And then there are all of the experiences we all have around work, family structure, etc. Experience is one part of our lives that contributes to who we become. All of these experiences influence us, but the question remains, are they really our identity? This is not a spiritual discussion, it's a practical one. A lot of what we call identity is created through culture and not experience. In fact, there can be a lot of inner conflict because the reality of our experience and how we're perceived in culture or society is different. And this is where many of our problems begin. What many people do not know, for good reason, is that each culture has a specific purpose. They're created to solve a certain set of problems, and they have a life cycle like all of us. So capitalism, our current system, was created to advance material well-being through science and progress, and it has succeeded admirably. It was not created to handle social and environmental issues. And by the way, I'm not saying that as an excuse. Because we think culture is supposed to take care of us and support us, and that's not wrong, we do not recognize sometimes its limitations. And cultures, because they want to live forever, too often refuse to accept the changes they do not want to deal with, especially if it means a change to the cultural structure, like with the environment. So this may seem like a detour, but it's something we need to understand in order to make sense of something very important about identity. Each culture creates identities it wants you to inhabit in order to make the culture work. So an agricultural culture will want you to be a farmer, not an astronaut or a media influencer. The roles that serve the culture are the ones that are encouraged. So in capitalism, entrepreneurs have had a lot of support. So with that in mind about how cultures work, where does our identity really come from? Why do so many of us have such a negative experience as children and spend lifetimes trying to heal ourselves and to reclaim ourselves from the early conditioning we experienced? When we are young, we don't understand that when a parent says you're too quiet or too noisy, for instance, they're not necessarily talking about there being something wrong with you. They're often saying that you need to act differently in order to fit into the culture. The culture, though, is interested in what you can do for it. And that can be a good thing unless the cultural purpose is too inappropriate or different from what you have to give. People who discover this often identify themselves as misfits, which can be a very telling label to apply to yourself. Many people right now are trying to reclaim themselves from cultural norms as we go through this huge cultural shift out of capitalism into a new model for human life, one that's more socially and ecologically sustainable. It's necessary. We have the opportunity to reclaim parts of ourselves that we have put aside in order to fit in. Culture, as it is right now, which is still predominantly authoritarian, wants you to be a servant of its agenda. Right now, the agenda is control and material accumulation, both of which are hurting us. People are exhausted from too much productivity pressure, and the earth is also exhausted. It is time for us to release ourselves from the hardship created by the survival narrative that still dominates human discourse and social systems. It's time to question the trauma created by demanding that people live identities that are not right for them, and increasingly for all of us. It's time to stop all the pain by forcing people to be somebody that they are not. It's also time for each of us to give ourselves permission to be truer to our actual natures, release ourselves from working ourselves to death, and start caring deeply for ourselves, each other, and the earth. It is possible to change our approach to life at this time of change. Your real identity is simple. It's human. That's what I go by and what I prefer. There is an advantage in making our identities that simple. When we do that, we're able to invite all aspects of ourselves to the table and be what we need to be in living life connected to earth and reality. We need to be more grounded and connected with nature because right now we're out of control in so many ways that our way of life is actually self-destructive, and we deserve better, all of us. If we want life to work again, we need to question identities of all kinds to discover what is real and right for us. And in order to do that, we need to release ourselves from false identities to get our feet back on the ground. We will all be much freer and happier as a result, and I doubt we will miss the baggage of identities that are keeping us. I'm willing to give it a shot, and I hope you are also. Thanks for watching this video. I hope you've enjoyed learning more about how joy can transform your life. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends and loved ones. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more videos on the transformative power of joy. I'll be back soon to give you more information about how joy as a practicing compass can transform your life. Stay well and joyful until then, and thank you for watching.